Hello, ladies. Right. Obviously, in the last one, uh, I died right at the bloody end. I did replay the footage back, and I slowed it down. And even though I had believed that I died by the demolition guy, when I played it back like really slowly, like I could see that the demo blew up and did take like a chunk. He put me down to like 170, but my last shot that I was trying to fire of the pulse arrow to try to get him, I clipped the little jump-in spider that was quite close to me, and that was the thing that ultimately finished me and killed me off. So the demo didn't kill me, I killed me, which is quite funny. Um, but yeah, I clearly made a mistake. Uh, and obviously there was concerns of the base, mostly the roof aspect, um, and I had decided that I wanted to do a little revamp, because it was finished, but it wasn't finished, if you know what I mean. Like the initial part of the fighting area, that was all kind of done. Um, the roof flying bit, that was sort of see what happens, which I kind of expected I needed to do more to that anyway. And I wanted to change around the turrets a little bit and sort of make every other little area kind of a bit more like purposeful. It was all just kind of like thrown together. So I wanted to kind of spend a little bit of time and do a revamp anyway to kind of pretty things up a little bit, you could say, um, and to make slight additions and changes to not so much the fighting platform, um, though I did make one additional change on that based on how it was going on the last fight. I don't know if it works yet. I haven't tried it. This is going to be like a first time sort of playthrough. Um, so initially I'm going to leave the settings as they were, and we're going to run through basically the Horde Night again, after I give you a little throw around. But we're going to run through the Horde Night again to see how it plays out, and assuming that goes all well and good, I will essentially do quick repairs, set the time back, drink the hell out of those things, set this up to like crazy levels, and we replay it again, and then see how it goes. That's the plan. But all the settings are the exact same. Nothing's changed. I've had to basically get the file, and I've renamed it because Alice died. So this is just the revamp. I'll give you a tour around. I've adapted the fighting area a little bit. I did what I had in mind for the roofy part. I did some changes to the turret area. I just sort of winged that a little bit. I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do, so I just came up with something. I don't know if it's going to work. It might not work. And I redid the electrical system because I was trying out a mod. The mod doesn't really work, but I'll explain that. I didn't do much to the crafting room, and I'd redid quite a lot else. So we will do this. Well, I don't really need that actually. Debug menu. So things won't look a great deal different, but we'll do. This is pretty much all the same. However, you will notice that this is now 4 thick instead of 2 thick, which was part of the plan really, and I kept the same aesthetic. I had moved the blades around so I could fit more, essentially, and that's all I've done with that. I removed the spikes on top of here and here because they didn't really serve a purpose, and they were quite expensive to make. So it was more so for the look. So I was like, well, seeing as I've fell in love with this piece, I'm gonna just use that. So that's what I have done. This room is basically exactly the same again. However, this is also, instead of being one thick, is now an extra 2 layers thick, so I could bring this up in line. I don't want it to be like perfectly level because I like the sort of adjacent changes. So that was the plan of that. There is some other visual upgrades, but all of this is essentially exactly the same. I have extra layered this floor just because it was never really an issue, but I've just throw it on there anyway. This is all the same. Obviously I've got rid of the spikes there, so that's actually like a whole I think 1 to 2 layers higher. Because there was like I think it's, because it was there and that was a spiky one, so I think it's like a whole layer extra higher. But they weren't getting up to that bit anyway, they were just bashing on this. So my theory of, because obviously I've built this so that they go up here, they can't go through there, so they have to kind of squeeze through here. Now obviously they have to bash through that one and then that one, and then once I pass that, they seem to have full rain. So I thought, okay, maybe if I put this one here, it will stop them at this point as well, so that they might get like caught there and then have to beat through that one. I don't know. That was sort of like a temporary sort of testy fix, so we're going to figure that out. Ultimately, what I would like to do is to take this, which is going to be telling, because essentially I can't have that part twice. But naturally I would take this platform and double it up and push these stairs back by 2 blocks. But I didn't want to bother with that. That's the only thing I've not done in this revamp. I've done more work than I thought I was going to do, because I kind of got caught in the OCD of changing shit, and I went experimenting with probably like 12 or 13 different combinations of things, trying to find what works and what I like the look of. And I like the look of several things, but I always have this issue where I find a block that I like, and then I have multiple sort of structures that I build, and at some point that block won't fit in like the groups of 2, the groups of 3, groups of 5. Something won't align properly, and it will just look odd, and it will frustrate me, and then I'll have to scrap that whole block, and it pisses me off. This time around, I seem to have came across a combination that I like the look of, because it's got a bunch of blocks that I do like, I've always liked, included with these things, and I've kind of done a triple combo, and I like it. And it seems to fit with every sort of style that I throw at it. I've got like towers underneath, obviously supporting the base, that have been like 2x2 blocks. I've had 1x3s. I've had like 4x5s and 5x5. I've had a whole different bunch of things. And this particular style that I've got, even though it's slightly adapted, all the blocks are the same, just in different variations and alignments. And I am very happy with it. Like I am grinning. I am very happy with it. So we'll get to that. But yes, initially I would want to push this back. But if this doesn't actually work or do anything, then all of that might be for nothing. Because yeah, it might not work. But considering as like they come up here, they hit that, it blocks them there. It should do, but it might just be the fact that it's blocking here and not essentially this one. I don't want to have to do a situation where I do that. That's not really. Don't need that anymore. It's not a situation what I want to be in, but if I have to, I could do it. The only reason this is here is to funnel them so that they can fall down. I wouldn't want to do that too many times, because I want to kind of let them go through so that they can funnel, and this is just to stop the big ones. I don't want them all like bulking up here and then attacking, because then it'd be more of a problem. I need them to kind of filter through. So that's the plan of that. I actually haven't upgraded all of this stuff. I just rebuilt it all with concrete, which is probably an oversight. Now I'm thinking about it. I normally had this as titanium, but a lot of this now is yeah. Okay, I didn't consider that. I just built everything with the concrete and called it a day. Yeah, it's me. Yeah, I might have to upgrade a couple of bits and repaint some. But yeah, all the stairs are the same. We'll get to downstairs at the end. I have redone the electrical room. I've redid the lights as well. For some reason, that other light that I had is now like sort of spawning halfway off the block. Don't know why. 2 of the 4 are doing the same thing. This one requires more power, but that's not really much of an issue. I've just thrown them around. They're currently set up, like they're all set up the same. I did rewire everything, but it's essentially all the same. I'm trying out this mod which incorporates extra generators. However, if I was to click on this or this, it would basically bring up the red box and it would kill the game, and I'd be back on my desktop. I can click on this one, but I've tried to mess with the code and it remains locked, and I can't seem to figure it out. So I can spawn like these items in and I can use them, but I can't seem to make them. But my original idea, there's like 2 or 3 mods that have this particular model, and I wanted this model because it's a model in the game, and I wish you could like sort of see it when it's out there and just sort of steal it. And I've used this because I wanted to, like, instead of having multiple generators, one big generator seemed like a natural progression. And I've got it so that the lights are pretty much always on, but that's not the lights, that's the lights. But I've noticed that the lighting tends to eat up quite a lot of your frames, so I've reduced a couple of the lighting bits that I had because I had a lot more. Like sitting in here, like 230 frames, I click that on, I've halved my frames. So, and this is in the daytime, not a horde night, so with a horde night going on, yeah, that could hurt it. So that's a bit of an issue. The left one controls all the left side and the left side of those. Naturally, the right side does the same thing. All as well. Does the same at the top. This one is purely for the electric traps, so that if I ever go through, because I had them previously set to like always on with the lights, so I wanted the ability to turn it off, so I rewired that up for that purpose. And this one controls the turrets on the top, which are currently positioned in these, because obviously I lost one, and I've angled them so that they're going to be like shooting up here, which is where the fighting is. I don't know if it will clear that angle, but the camera would suggest that it can. But you never know, it might clip onto those, so I don't know. I can easily remove that one. I could have used like these on it, I just didn't like the way that looked, but if it doesn't work, I will have to sacrifice the way it looked. Because originally I was gonna like make like a couple of towers going up and then kind of hide it in like a full ladder cage, but that didn't really fit what I needed. So I thought I'll give this a go. And this is like another mod thing that just has like an ammo box that refills all of these, which to be fair I don't really need because I already have like 3 full stacks, and that horde night we barely got through like 1 stack, so it's not really something I need. But I saw it and thought I'd give it a try, and it looked kind of alright, but in fairness, I probably will just get rid of that because it's a waste of time. Especially considering that's how much ammo. If it was like normal sort of amounts of ammo, like 600 bullets, yeah, I can see that being useful. But it's just as easy to change the stack volumes in the files
than it is to get an entirely new mod and use up more resources. But yeah, this mod, I like the look of it, and if I do a playthrough again, because it's essentially 4 or 5 times the price, what I would do is just make 5 of them, and then do a little like crafting menu sort of thing, and then do a little trade out, and then I would just pick that and put it down and call it, you know, a win. Unless they fix it or I can figure out how to do the code, but it's not really something I'm too amazing with. Like, I just about get through it. Crafting room, not much change. I tried to downsize storage just for shits and giggles, because I kind of had a lot more than I wanted. Because storage that I do like, I organize things a certain way, and I've kind of changed how I've done that. Yeah, and I've moved things around a little bit. So that box used to be the medical box, but now that's in there. So if I was gonna have that, I would have like the lockable medical box there, like I did before. Everything else is the same. I got rid of the 4 boxes there because I discovered I had access to these lockable pallets, which I did not realize. So it's like, well, that's clearly stone, so that's where my stone's going, next to the cement stuff. This one is like concrete, sand, you know, clay, so like, well, that's all I need for this stuff. So happy days. I moved this to flow better, so it wasn't like 4 sections or 3 sections, so I was like, oh, that would do. Unfortunately, this didn't fit as well, but technically I don't need anything from this anymore, so it's just kind of like relegated to, you know, there. And I moved that around. I moved that centrally. That's the same. This is here, but I used, instead of having those up there, I got sort of this one because I wanted to use more unique storage rather than spamming those steel things. So I used this to basically, and I've reorganized how I organize things a little bit, which it does change every now and again, but I'm pretty much of a stickler for how I like things to be. So I just kind of put sort of like, you know, the toolbox kind of stuff in here, you know. And then in this one is sort of like miscellaneous again. I do like these drawers. I've used it in this metal thing before, and I think it kind of looks quite alright. I think that's what that's supposed to be, so it blends in. And then my metals, which used to be over there, so those 4 boxes got downsized into that one, and those 2 are basically from there anyway, and then the other 3 is all for those 2, and I think it looks cleaner that way, so that's what I've done. That's all the same. I got rid of the trader box that I have because I always like a trader machine, and I realized that you could make a lockable vending machine, so I was like, well, that's clearly like my for sale section, so that's what I've got here. And the other thing was sort of like spare weapon parts for basically repairing, so I didn't have to constantly keep making guns to repair my guns, you know, I could just farm them up. So I combined a lot of them because you get so many mixed levels, and made them somewhat usable. And I've left these 2 bags at the bottom because you could make these as well, which is like 20 nails, you know, nice and cheap. I didn't realize you could make this. And now I've kind of got like my coil stuff. I've, you know, converted them up so I can do easy repairs, and I converted all those up so it'd be like 1-click repair. And it's just made that cleaner, and they've also got more storage space in them, which is a win-win. That's the same. However, this oil pump, which basically uses wood, coal, fuel logs to make oil shell, which then makes my gasoline. It was there, but I obviously moved that along, and because that's all kind of like the same, it kind of looked like, besides this wooden bit, it kind of looked like it was making one machine, so I thought, yeah, that would do. I'll just stick that there, and it kind of combines the 2, because I don't really use this anyway. And to be fair, once you make enough oil shell, you don't really need that. And I was testing some shit out with this. I was making biofuel for some reason, I can't remember now. I think I was doing tests on what fuel sources kind of offer me the most. And I was like min-maxing the best way to make gasoline, what fuels to use, and then I discovered fuel logs are actually a thing. I've never seen this in my life. I was like, okay, Turns out this is by far the best thing ever. And all you need is a wild tree, because 2 wood is like a couple of seconds. Like it doesn't do anything. Like 1 minute 40. But if you make like the wooden logs or you use the cubes, no matter how much wood it goes in, it's always going to be the same because it's just purely the amount of wood. Where the fuel log is crazy. It's also cost 2 wood, but you get 5 minutes of cook time. I was like, alright, bet. Cold is pretty good as well. And I threw in a bunch of paper to kind of use up the paper that I have no use for anymore. And I was getting some time with that, which I never even thought of. So that was cornmeal. Yeah, put that in there. So yeah, that's what I was doing with that. That's all the same. This is all the same. Nothing new here whatsoever. This whole building, you might think this looks a bit different, but mostly the same. Basically, everything from here outwards, I basically knocked down completely and rebuilt. Because the helipad wasn't of correct size. I fixed that. And the car park area wasn't of correct size as well. To be fair, it could be bigger. I don't really care too much. Like it's good enough for what I need to do. I'm not looking to be, you know, a massive car dealer and have one of every car. I don't really care. I've already got more than in there that I need. The helipad is the main thing. I haven't done too much to it. It's fairly like simple. Like I'll go up here. Instead of having the helipad block, which to be fair I've actually forgot to put that in, because it was originally there, but I didn't like how it raised it up. So instead I kind of made like my own kind of version of it, and it fits better. And because I like natural light instead of using the heavily like FPS stealing lights, I've done that, but I forgot to put that block in. Oops me. And then this room, I think it was like a 13 by 13 or something last time. It's a 15 by 15 now, because that's what the size you need. It's the exact size to go on the edges, 15 by 15 for the helipad. I think it was like a 13 by 13 before, maybe even 11. So it's just a little bit bigger, but like the aesthetics is pretty much all the same. It's one taller than it used to be because of the double ceiling that I've created for the effect, and all of that's pretty much the same down there. The garage has this nice little look. I quite like that because I had it in here. I changed the block that I had there because I discovered a new block that I'd never seen, because I had it in here as well, where I was previously using the ladders. But I discovered this window that's not got like, don't you lie to me. Yeah, there we go. Normally like the window and the outer bit are all the same, but for this particular one, you actually do get like the part of it. And so that's now going to be like, when you get past the window plate, you know, you get the resistance to it, which is lovely. We'll change that. I have broke the glass still. Damn. There we go. Paint all sides, paint all that. So, yeah, okay. So that's how that looks. And I prefer that because I've tried so many different windows and they all kind of have a nice look to them, but they're basically weak as shit. So couple of slaps and they literally break, because like 5 health is not any good. And even though you can also repair them up to like steel, they still have 5 health. So while I was hunting through block after block after block, because I've spent like, I don't know, it's like 2 days since the last video, and I probably put like 3, 4, 5 hour sessions in, just messing around. Um, Maybe even more than that. To be fair, it might be 4 or 5 sessions. I've done quite a lot, because it's a lot of like knocking down, replacing, rebuilding, and I spent like a whole 4 hours trying to figure out what blocks I wanted to use, and I built like 8 or 9 different variations of pillars. Like I was going a bit crazy with it. Like once I started, I couldn't stop, which is my OCD problems. But yeah, I built this room, same cars. I always liked that bike just because of the styling of it, but that one's technically a little bit faster. At least that's what it says. This one looks like a piece of shit. I did try custom mod bikes, but they're pretty much uncontrollable in terms of handling. And I hadn't seen the Humvee for a long time, and that's I think like the default grey color, which is like perfect. You know, I might start using that, even though that's technically the best for like heels. That's also like one of the faster, better cars. There isn't really any good bike. I wish they had like a super bike sort of model, because I am a big kind of bike guy. I'd rather bike it if I could, but they kind of handle like shit going up hills, which is why you pretty much use that. You can just fly up anything. I spawned this in because this is the item I wish I could make, and this is where I keep all my gas. You know, it's a happy day life thing. And I did spend a little bit of time, because I rebuilt this. I was looking at my stability as well as trying to make it nice and decorative. So because it was quite a big expanse on a ceiling, there wasn't much sort of like structural support. So I've kind of aided on the sides and in the middle, and that just so happens fits quite nicely for a car parking spot, and allows me to still get in and out, and creates an extra parking spot. Otherwise I was doing like weird U-turns and stuff, and there isn't much space in here. But that turned out to be quite nice, and it all structurally supports everything up there. I've also redesigned this. It used to be the ramps. Now we've got wedge and wedge tips. I don't know if anyone's noticed yet, but I've also changed the windows. It used to be the ladder things. I put these in, which for the longest this has been here. I think I made this slightly wider, because I think it was a 2 with the blocks before, but for stability, to help with that upper room and the roof, because I did some extras up there as well, it was better because underneath here I had like that under pillar bit that was giving me support. That was a 5x5, so it made sense to use the natural support fully to expand that, which helped with the stability. Even though everything was stable, there were some elements to it that were a little bit close to like being maxed out. So I took a little bit, because I didn't really plan when I built this room or that anything. I just basically built a room that was like 11 by 11, 12 by 12, you know, whatever. Usually like a 13 by 13 or so would do me for my crafting room, because I like to kind of put things in like corners. That's usually what I kind of would require. So I just used that, and I wanted to keep it in line with kind of that bit. I think it's like, yes, it's either one off or the same, because I quite liked how it kind of changed in size. I just wanted a corridor and then the main room, so I was like, yeah, that'll do. I'll keep it like that, keep it uniformed. So I thought, well, I might as well use the stability there to kind of help that out. You know, it's there, I might as well, you know, connect it fully. But I never really had a plan. I just kind of threw stuff up on that roof and went along with it. So I actually put in a little bit of thought, and designed the room, move stuff around a little bit. It's pretty much all the same stuff with a couple of extras. I made it like, if I was gonna like properly build it, like that's how I would have it. You know, I took a bit of time, which required me to like do other things as well. So I rebuilt this properly, so now I can drive up and down. Now instead of doing like the pyramid thing before, I didn't want to do it because I didn't think it looked as what I wanted, and it would be a lot more structurally difficult. And I ended up liking kind of what I built here, and and it serves its purpose. Mainly, like, that is the one you're going to use. Like, there isn't really much reason to go up that side. But if you got the bike, it's nice. But if you got the car, it's not the easiest of turns if you're going up speed. I also changed these and made them double because it was a bit easier getting in and out, and I extended it by one for driving because sometimes you clip that little thing and the car will get stuck because, you know, cars are crap. And then I've redesigned basically every tower thing down here has been changed. But before we get to that, this room is now pretty much this. I put the same like outer bits all the way up, and I've pretty much encased it, and I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. So I was like, oh, that would do. I followed the support beams up here to help with the roof, so I just followed that along. I changed those to those the same to match, and then I always had the solar, but I had it sort of like half in the window. But turns out you can put the solar down and you can put stuff above it, and then it doesn't work. Even though it still stays there, it doesn't actually work. And I need the solar to essentially recharge my batteries, and these use battery, so every time I kind of use those, I have to kind of recharge them, so that's what that's for. And then I removed the dew collectors around, so they're doing their bits, and they still need like the rain obviously to get in. So I thought, well, I'm just gonna do that with the roof. I was tempted to do that, but I was like, well, I haven't actually tested it. They might actually work with that, but I wanted to kind of create more light and make it feel kind of open. So I did that, and I've kind of changed the colors to kind of, because I like, you know, the blacks and the grays, and that's pretty much the theme everywhere you see. The chicken coops that I had 2 out there, and I had the 2 beehives, I put them over here and I painted them. All of the I think it was 8 down here, like I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've moved all of those, and I just replaced them with repair blocks, because I realized that repair block I could make more than one, which would speed up the ability to repair, because it does take a long time for one block. So I've got other blocks now just to do dedicated things, and there's that one block that kind of does all the random shit. And what that's done is it's really sped up the base, because I spent like a whole 7 days in Gameworld 1, and I still had loads of blocks like up here that were like half damaged or more, and it would have been almost 7 days between the hordes, and I was like, how is that not repaired? But obviously there's so many like little cracks from like horde nights and whatnot, it takes a while. So I increased a couple, and then over the course of just, you know, messing around, it had repaired practically everything. So I've got one over here as well, because I wasn't too sure on the range, because it says it's linked to this, the land claim block, which has this like perimeter, and I've got a land claim there, and another one in the garage to fully extend the full link for this. But I had a bunch of blocks like in here, which was well into the space of this, and they just were not repairing. And I thought, okay, it's maybe something to do with the land claim, but after, you know, playing for a while and waiting, I think it was just the fact there were so many blocks, like it hadn't spotted that one yet, because it's constantly scanning and checking. But once I got more blocks, it seemed to be fine, and then once they highlight green, they haven't found anything. But once I play, I probably wouldn't have this many. But yeah, I'd at least go for 2 at the minimum, because 1 isn't quite enough. And if it does indeed hit all of that, I might have to like keep the 3, because I've got that one under there and that one there, and I've kind of, that was the reason why I kind of put that there, because I had to put an extra plate on top to kind of hide it, and then I can access it from the bottom. And then to make everything sort of look the same, I added those, which do kind of annoy me. But yeah, I digress. That's that. So yeah, I had those 2 there, and I had all those there, so I've moved them up the top there.
irrigated like they always are. And then I've recently built this because yeah, obviously I moved those as well because I think they were out there. I had them in the middle, and then those, so I moved them as well. Um, and I had in here the sort of, I had a little water bed and some walls and like a group of trees, orange trees, apple trees for like making the animal feed, and orange trees just because you can't grow the oranges in there, so I needed those for the orange tea that I make. So part of my lovely like farming module used to have like a sort of like a watery area with like a massive tank, um, like a big sort of clear glass tank that you could see when you enter this big room, that looked like it would like kind of flow into like all the farming areas. I'd love to make the module again, but I didn't want to go crazy and make like a whole add-on to the base, because technically with these, like, you don't really need much space. Like this is everything that I need, and then some. And I was testing the fertilizer out as well. I'm literally getting double for fertilizer, so I'm like, yeah, I love that. And I just like the way this looks, and this window thing. Like I fell in love with this window. It's one of like the nice blocks. I've always used those. This style block, I love that now. And I've even like discovered that one a while ago. I like that one, and I've always liked the security gates for many reasons, and I've basically reused that with combinations of other stuff. So, and yeah, just basically all the way around, water on the inside, you know, free orange trees, free apple trees, all done and dusted. And then I like the steel doors versus the sci-fi doors. Um, I I originally did have these doors destroyed and just have the outer bit, but the repair block sees that and goes, haha, no mate, and it just repairs it too often. So I just have to put up with the fact. I probably should turn that so I can get in and out more, but I don't really care. Like, it does the job. I just have to go around. And then I've roofed it off. I have to leave those open because the trees take up a little space. And then that's, even though it doesn't look like it's supporting, it is, because that counts as a block. And that whole roof is now being sorted out. And then we're back into this room, and then that's basically the full base. And then back out there, which is, the normal stuff. Nothing extra going on here. Back to there, solar panel, and then we're back down here. This was sort of my experiment of what I was building, because I'd have like, I've always had like a little tree farm, which I've kind of, I don't know, I've been doing that for I don't know how long. It's like free wide space with a couple of plates, and then that's how I kind of do it, because I would farm a little bit early game, but I obviously haven't cut these down in a long ass time. So normally I like to have a couple, and I thought, well, maybe I could incorporate that to the base. So I was like, let me make a little something using my old module, and I tried to put like in the four corners, because you can put tree there and tree there because it's free space, which is why I like building it like that. So you can kind of get everything in one, because I used to combine the trees and like the farm crops anyway, because it kind of looks nice. But obviously they're quite tall, like they come past here, and they're a little bit close. It kind of blocks that, and yeah, all three of the trees are all too fluffy. So I didn't want to use it like that, so I would just keep using that, or kind of build something, because I don't like it too much because it blocks vision, and I don't like that. And if you're flying in and out, you don't want to clip a tree, so like, yeah, just keep it over there. I don't use it that often. So it's basically the same thing as up in there, but just a little bit bigger. Yes, I could easily get more trees in there, but I quite like that water sort of look to it. And yeah, these are all sort of the same. It's just wedge tips, wedge tips, with the wedge tip turned upside down to help with the support, which kind of gives it a nice little beam look. And then it's following the same principles as the under black. These support beams
are support, but also just a little aesthetic that I've had, which you might have seen like forever. Like under the base, pretty much always has those beams, which is originally how um, this whole section came about, because it was supported via those beams and not those. But then I've obviously changed. And one of the things that was quite annoying me, which is still prevalent because I've not done it, is how I built this module and then I just kind of threw that together at a whim, thinking I need it to be kind of odd so I can get what I needed at the time in there. And then I made that, which is always odd. And then I kind of threw that together, that's odd. And then I just kind of went and built things in all four corners. And in some instances, I put like a 4x3 in there, and then like a 5x5 in there, and then I had something there, and it left like weird gaps. So like everywhere now is mostly like even. Obviously this one is off center because this is in one less than that one. But previously they were like 2x2s. I had some 1x3s. I had a bunch of mixed bag stuff, which had differences in the way it looked. And then obviously the main central bit, I had like one there. I had like one gap space, and then I had another like weird gap, and then I had like a little gap, and then another big one, and it didn't align up properly, and it wasn't helping with the full support of the base. Even though the base was supported, there wasn't any issues of it falling down because there was multiple backups, even if a couple of those pillars did go down. And the pillars are still in here. I've just changed them a little bit, and instead of it being like a 5x3 with like the 3 internals and then like a gap and then another like 5x3, I've just essentially followed it all the way across and made it one big one. So now that's like directly underneath the fighting platform, which was originally the 5x5 all the way in, and then I had like a little gap, and I had like a 3x3 or a 5x5 or something. I've just basically continued that all the way along, so that this one and that one and this one are all connected under the same main supporting pillars, and then it ends where the garage is. And then there's that little gap again, and then that's the garage one, which was originally one over there. I had 2 corners and a 1x3, and then I had like a 1x3 going here, and I was like, well, screw that, because I like to protect like all 4 corners, the middle, and then sometimes the sides are a little bit weak. So I thought, well, I've already kind of done that in that sort of way, so I'm just going to convert the whole middle with the same style all the way across to the edge and to the edge. However, I did realize that when building, I couldn't match this up how I do with this one. One might argue that it's a bit odd, but technically if I was to ever build this again, because I didn't realize this until too late, I'd have to push this down one again, because this little door trick obviously uses up that space. So I would technically need to put these concrete blocks, another row there, and then push this whole thing back by 1, which I would have to do as well here, because I created the lip there, but I didn't create the lip on that side, which is my mistake, because I wanted to keep the aesthetic, but I didn't really know I was having that aesthetic at the time, and it was for purpose. But I could easily just push that back by 1, and then do the same. So anytime I like remake the entrances with these things, I would just have an extra layer, which is an easy fix. And essentially again, it's triple pipes going all the way down with my security gates, because I've always loved the way they look, and no matter which orientation, because you've got the diagonal one, and then you got the one at the back. You've even got a central one if you want to go crazy. And I've used these so many times over the years to create like backing light in underground tunnels. I've dug out a block, I've put a light there, and I've put that in front of the light to kind of create like a lighting effect. It eats up your frames with all the lighting effects. I've used lanterns before, which it eats it up. And I've done it, with piping. And you've seen it in some bunkers before, where you see that like corrugated fence with like pipes behind it. I've done that myself. And I quite like the way that kind of looks with the dark internals. and then I've got like a little casing pillar which goes over the top, which originally I wanted to do more of this because I really liked that, and I encased the whole thing, but I was like, this is looking way too bulky, it feels too claustrophobic. It's like, nah, I don't, it went too dark because I made them black as well, like I did here, like, you know, like the accents, and it's like, nah, this is looking way too claustrophobic, it's too dark. And as much as I like that, it's like if I cover the whole thing, it's now starting to look like a goth house. So I was like, no, it's taking away from that style, and I like how that style is like all on one level, with exception to this, but that's like the main sort of house. So it's like most of it flows quite nicely. So I'm like, yeah, I don't want to ruin it. This is gonna have its own thing. So I got rid of that, and then I started playing around, and then I discovered the little pillars that I basically have been using up here, like the singles and the doubles, I could just use to fill in that gaps. And I was like, okay, so wherever I'm using a 2x2, which is the same, all the pillars are in the same locations, 2x2, I just knocked them out and rebuilt them. This was the 1x3, but the 1x3 I didn't like the look of, so I made it, you know, 2x3, and then I made this style, and then it looked kind of cool. And I was like, I'll take that. And then it's the 2x2, 2x2, little squares. It's cool. And then it's, you know, repeat, because that was all the 2x2s there. 2x2s again. This was a 2x2, a gap, and a 2x2. I was like, nah, we're gonna do a 4x4, well, 4x2. And then I saved the space because I didn't want that to connect to up here. Because I didn't want any extra ledges, but I did like it connecting to this side. Technically, I would probably make this one wider if I was to do it in the future, but it doesn't really matter because there's still enough space down here for that to be there and that to be there. That's all I really need, and this is still the same sort of area. That just looks appealing to me. Like that just looks good. You know, there's nice lighting effects from the sun. I got rid of those and I just made them square, and I kept this going to keep the aesthetic. The pillars are all the same, and it, even though it's doubly supported now, because not only is it those and like what used to be the pillars, I've now got these as well, which these count as this block, so it's now even more secure, which is great for me because now that sort of gives structural stability to this block, where before it was only giving it to this block. So these whole outer edges were quite weak, and the weakest part of this whole section here was the outer edges, and in this middle bit there was no support. But if I pull this up, stability now is basically anything green is like perfect, yellow is pretty fucking good, and oranges are the weak points. Anything red is pretty much you put one block on it and it's going to fall apart. And before, this was all quite orange, and these were pretty much all red. They were just about holding on. But because I have that going out by one extra block, now that's supported all the way up, which then has a knock-on effect to the things next to it, and so on and so on. These are orange because this one has a lip, which is the thing that bugs me, because when I started building these pillars, I didn't want this to be too close to that to prevent them from getting through nice and easily. But if I was to push that back by 2 to create that lip, when I push that towards 2, it would create the same space as it is now, but that would be over by 2, that would be over by 2, and it would be equally on the edge. But then we've got things like, that's a 2x2, well, a 4x2, 2 wide, 2 wide, 2 wide with a 1 gap space. You know, it all is nice, and then that doesn't work. So yeah, I'd have to create like a whole another fit, like that would be a gap, and then another 2, and then a gap, and that would kind of bug me. Just to make that more uniformed. It's still structurally sound, like it's not bad, like it's better than it was before, but I don't need to like kind of redesign that whole section of the base just to make it slightly more structurally sound, even though it is still pretty fucking good now. But that does bug me. But the whole, this was all sort of structurally sound, and it came off of this block to go across, which is why that's there. And that one's not there because I didn't want them to get across that way. It's just the way that, how that was built, because that's initially how the whole thing was built. But that's the only little thing that kind of like bugs my OCD, how it doesn't match, where everything else is all uniform, you know, on edge, even gaps, ignoring that bit, even gaps, you know, it's all flows. And then I even redesigned how I do these even gaps, and I've basically kept the same sort of, you know, 3x2, and it worked. I was like, oh, that works. The 2x2, yeah, that works nicely. Then I've got like the 4x2, and it's like, yeah, that all works the same. These ones are just to match them in. These are all the same. This is basically just that but bigger. So I was like, yeah, that's obviously gonna work, and that's on all the sides. And then I was like, ooh, we now got a different issue, because now I don't have the 2 wide, because most of these are all 2 wide. I have nothing that's 1 wide, which is why I increased these, because 1 wide just didn't look right. So I had to make it 2 wide. And everything was working. I was like, well, now I have a problem, because these wedges and the tips, they only give me a 1 wide space to work with. Now, even though I doubled up on these, and technically there's a little gap here, so you could really get 2 wide, but I didn't want to copy and paste it again, because it wouldn't like flow correctly, because I wouldn't be able to have that on that side as well, because I can't do anything with that block, so I couldn't do anything with that. This side doesn't work because of that problem again, which I know I could fix that in the future. So I was like, okay, I've always got an issue with a block that won't fit everywhere when I try to build stuff. So like, all the 2x2s stuff is working, 3x2s, 4x2s, you know, those big crazy ones. But now we're on like the odds again. I was like, So I'm like, well, I'm gonna make something a little bit more artistic-y, while keeping the same blocks. Everything's the same, but just in a different pattern. I was like, I quite like the way that's looking. And I've just made it wavy the same, and then I've like alternated them. And then we've got basically the same here again, where it's like 2 to the left, 2 to the right. Then the back ones have a different wave as well, and then the central one is like the 3x3 with the pillar. So basically just a small version of this. And I was like, yeah, that'll look, and that turned out nice. So no matter what I build, it just all flows nicely. And that's kind of got like a bit of a UFC Octagon kind of feel to it. I was like, that's kind of cool. And this, no matter where I go, it took me a long ass time to rip all of this out, which is why I had that little admin gun, because I could just destroy it instead of picking, because I'd need like a month to tick all that stuff, because it was like titanium and steel and concrete, and like, yeah, I ain't doing that. So I'll just admin destroy it all and rebuild it. And now everything kind of looks nice. I've still got the same flow of black with the silver bases and the two-tone. I like how that kind of blends the black undertones, the silver sides, just the little tops, you know. Then these things just sitting down here just to kill up some space. Gives me a couple more. I could easily do more, but yeah, that's more. These are more for looks. That's kind of more of the usable trees, because you don't need that many, to be fair, especially now in this part of the game. It's just purely for looks. So I am finished with this, and I am exceptionally happy with the way this turned out. Like, it took me so freaking long, because I had so many blocks that I was playing with, and I had some nice ones, because I've used like a staircase build before, where you kind of have like the sort of like up down sort of look to it, and it makes like a nice pillar. If you do like the corner one and the corner one, you can make like a nice pillar look to that. And there's loads of little variations, and I've used like the bar versions. I've used that. I did like a full one of these. There's a nice triangle bit somewhere, like one of these that you can do up and down, up and down. I basically went through every block that I could think of that would work in combinations with like the pillars to try to match something up with this to create a stable block that isn't just a big square. I want it to kind of have some sort of look to it, because there's no point having just like a straight square. It kind of looks boring, which is why I've used like mostly pillars, because it takes up less space. It looks like you've got more space even though it's a full block. So like, yeah, and I quite like the fact that I can see through, and it looks more spacious, and it's got that modern sort of like art gallery kind of vibe to it. Mostly probably from the color scheme. Like if I painted this like orange and blue or whatnot, it would look a bit different, but I'm a black and silver kind of guy. And I love how this has turned out, because that was already serving the purpose. I just doubled that up, changed it out, added extra those. I'm hoping those work, and then I just reorganized this and that a little bit, built that properly, which basically I built that properly, so that kind of worked out anyway. And then I was going to be done with that, but then the pillars were bugging me, and I didn't want to like completely knock them out and rebuild them in different ways. So they're all in the same like settings. These ones are just those ones are just pushed out extra one wide, and everything else is the same. These, instead of being like 1 1 1, I gave more of a gap so I could make it look a bit better and give better support. Because if I show stability again, this is all like, there was little like orange bits due to the support, but I've evenly spread them out, so they're all gold. Once again, it connects up all the sides, and the windows were like a weak point. Well, now because they're touching the edge and hitting the edge just because of that extra beam and not the security gate, now this is supporting that, which goes through all the way to the roof. The double roof bit is going to be weak just because there's nothing going from this section up, but this is helping with the middle, which is kind of helping all of that extra bit. So that's doing a good job, and the more green and yellow you see, the better. Obviously it's pretty much the same again, because I've copied and pasted pretty much the whole pattern that goes all the way around on every side. So this is always going to be, all the main pillars are going to be supported, and then just the windows. So this whole room is fine. I don't really need to go crazy and I don't want to make a whole full block, you know. That's good enough. And it's all supported. This door has terrible structure support, so if you build anything on top of it, it's almost like you're building on thin air. Like, it just doesn't count. So this whole section, no matter what I do, even though that's like rooted all the way through and that goes up, it doesn't seem to transfer to this block, just purely because of these doors. Like, it just does. There has no structural stability on these doors, which is, I think, what these iron garage doors. They're just terrible. But I like the look of them. It's like an easy pass through, and because I've made that with like I think a 7 wide, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wide. There's always an odd number. The 3, that's the only thing that really works for the 3. I like these for 2s, but I've had such an issue with 2s. Anything that's like an even number has always annoyed me. So all of this is structurally good. Obviously this I increased, but because I increased this anyway, that kind of added extra, because I had like a nice bit of green in there, and then kind of orangey reds up to here, and then it was like green again. I was like, well, why don't I just expand that one out, which will help this section. And then this section is probably the worst in here, just because all the 4 corners and the sides are good, but you can't do that because of those doors.
they're just gonna always screw with your structural stability. The windows and windows. I've had to put these random pillars in just to sort of help bolster the stability. It works without it, but it's a bit more orangey without them, and it kind of adds like a little aesthetics to it. The game over here seems to be bugged. Like there's no block there, but it won't let me place a block there, and it keeps doing this. I don't know why it's doing this, but it's like I know sometimes at distance things will like go out, but like I'm there and it's doing it. Maybe it's like the save file is too long, or I got too much stuff in the base. I don't know. Could just be a bugged world, but something there is blocking it, and there's like a random block here, and so I couldn't complete it. But yeah, I quite like how that kind of added the extra in anyway. Yeah, I don't mind. It helps the stability, and it supports that. This would be the worst, just because green is there, and even though that is being supported here, that's technically a water block here, and then water won't transfer, and then that's supported all the way up, and then this is like a different block, and then it doesn't seem to want to support as much on that one. So that's where the issue is there. And same again with this window bit, because this one has a complete gap and it's only supported there. Originally I had, I think, like a 1x2 here or something, but I got rid of that in favor of having, because I think I had like a block here and then a little one there, and then those two. I got rid of that in favor of that, and it didn't really affect anything, because you can go up by 5, and this has supporting beams anyway, and it's good enough. That's a bit of a dodgy block, but I can probably put 2 more on there before it kind of goes problematic. But it's just like a piece, and then all of this is obviously beautifully green. This one, for some reason, is not. I don't know why. It's probably because of this door again. And then this, obviously, because there's nothing down here at all. It's just sort of being supported. I did put this extra 2 beams in to help support this block in particular, which then connects to this block, which then helps that block, and then it helps support a good chunk of this front, because this whole front was kind of screaming at me, which is like basically it looked like that pretty much everywhere, which has then kind of had a knock-on effect to a little bit of this. So that actually looks as good as it ever has, and that's all thanks to basically all of those outer pillars. So doing that not only to me looks great, it's given me that extra stability that I really needed, for shits and giggles. And now it's all just like really good. I wish I knew about this stability admin thing years ago, because I was literally just testing everything out, building what I could, and seeing when it used to crumble. And for the longest time, I didn't even pay any attention to the fact it does tell you in here. Like, you can put 8 of those, and I knew it's 8 anyway with the wood, and I think it's about the same with the concrete. But I never actually paid attention to that years ago. So it's 12 on that one. Every one of them's got a different thing. But yeah, I am very happy with the way this looks now. It's a bit more beefier. It's actually complete, because that was, like I said, that was the only thing that was actually like made to purpose. And then question mark to how that was going to turn out. Now I know what to expect. You know, double up that security. So hopefully, I might not get spit on as much, because I got a bit more to protect me. More blades, so they might last a bit longer, and or kill quicker. I'm hoping these turrets work, but if not, I can change that around. But I quite like how that looks. But if not, I could easily, you know, kind of do like a ladder box, or put them up 1 extra higher. I can do stuff, or even put them up there if I need to. I quite like the way that looked, like a kind of calm and quiet. And yeah, that should work now. But at least I won't have any worries about having to like completely worry about the top bit. I could always like create more turrets as well if I really needed. I could probably put another one there and there. I could probably even put another one there, and then I won't have to worry as much. But I don't want to kind of spam out the turrets. But the Queen Mother flying thing, she is a pain in the ass. And if I'm not focusing too much on taking these guys out, they will get through those blocks. So that was the first time I was dividing my attention. Normally I just ignore them and pray, deal with all of those, and then see how they get. But I don't think I have to worry about that now, so I can focus on them. I want to see if that works, so it would be quite nice if they get through a little bit, just so I can see if that does work, because if it doesn't, then oh well, I'll just have to rely on that. But I'm gonna run the night anyway. Technically I should be installing things to like titanium for this. I can't remember what I've actually made titanium. I think I ripped out a couple of bits. So we'll put this on. I do have titanium in the base, but because this is not an actual playthrough at the minute, because she died. I double checked to see what we got. Oh, okay. Maybe I already done it. Huh. Okay, it does work. I was thinking for a second maybe it was broken, but it does work. Okay. Use my own steel. Let's just grab some of this just in case. Okay, I want to double check down here. Yep. And if I don't sort this out, I'm gonna be an unhappy man. Ooh, I missed one. Look at that. I missed one. Make sure all of these are good. Yeah, I remember accidentally destroying that. Yeah, they do up by 4 now. I think I did it up by 3 before. Yeah, there we go. I've definitely not done these are all brand new installations. You should be all sorted, at least 4 high. I'm pretty sure you all are. 4 high, yeah, 4 high. Yep. You shouldn't be attacking any of these, but these are all concrete anyway. I have no real concerns, that's just the fighting platform. I haven't done anything to these. I did change these, so just in case. Because I didn't want them to sticking out in case they were like up here.
and they fell off, and then they got like stuck. Even though there's a ladder, so you can technically kind of like glide across. I don't want them to have any potential dropping points to cause me any issues. The only things I've really done, I think I had some of this as titanium, but they're pretty much all been replaced. This whole tower should be the same, but all these blocks are different. These ain't even really that important. I'm pretty sure even if you take that block out, this is all supported anyway. So it's more so for the look. And to be more realistic than the look, because to be fair, I'd rather that be more of a free square, but originally it was to have like more blade traps down here, so it kind of simulates like a blade trap. I just don't need more blade traps and more fuel expenditure or whatnot, because that new big generator, even though it kind of looks cool, it seems to use fuel a lot quicker. I'm not too happy about that, but it does have a larger fuel capacity as well. I think the other one was like 6,000. This one had 20k, but I increased it to 50k just so I don't have to ever worry about it, and it's that large, because I had it like everything turned on power wise, and I could physically see it tick down, and I thought, well, 20k, like by the time I get the end of the Horde Night, that'll probably be gone. I'm like, yeah, I'll stick that up a little bit just so it lasts, and then you don't have to worry about it. And I try not to run the electricity on anyway, just because it's kind of crazy. If I was building this in my playthrough like I did the first time, I would have upgraded the most prominent stuff to titanium anyway, and then anything that's not that important would be concrete, just for easier repair. Like all of this outer layer would be pretty much like a titanium layer, then all the inner layers would just be the concrete, and maybe like a steel layer, but probably not. Like all these other exterior pillars, I would probably do steel, and then I wouldn't really worry too much, because I don't like to go too crazy on the metal, because cement and concrete mix is easier for me to get, and for the most part that's all I really need. It's only the fighting areas I have to worry about. Hold on, I didn't mean to click that. Get rid of that. I don't know if I've upgraded any of these. Yep. Alright. I ain't got to worry about that. I thought I didn't upgrade after this stuff, but apparently I did. I still have to make sure I turn those off so they don't see that as a path. Excuse you, Mr. Car? What happened there? What? Eh? To me doing that, like, cause a break. Okay. Yeah, all the bikes have moved. Huh. Wow. Well, I did drive this in. Of course. Set time 49, 1300. first put this in, I didn't have a Humvee there. And all these bikes were not here. Because I drove those in as well. Wow, okay. I don't know if I hit that if it blows. A bit of a reversing video. There we go. Fun and games. That was a bit close. Bikes has such terrible traction. So now it's going to repair all of that because something happened. I'm going to leave the lights off, which might be a problem for the night time, but I'm not too happy with. I'll try it out on the Horde night to see how much it's eating me, but they seem to be eating my frames, and Horde nights are already bad enough. And I did want to change this because this is the only block now that does not match anything else in the base, and it was an old block that I used to really like. However, nothing really seems to work with it other than that one block I did use, and because there's no central version and it's only that, it's hard to do anything with it. But because of the way it's kind of built, my window thing doesn't work with that. That might have worked if I would have doubled it, but probably not. So I just kind of left it because I don't mind it in that particular like hallway pattern. I can get away with that. But that's the only piece that's like it does not match. But yeah, this should all be repaired and good to go. So get rid of all of this. I can set the time. Yeah. Let's grab me M60, put that away. I'll keep that, put that away. Okay, so we've got the pulse arrows, pulse bolts. A couple thousand of that. I ain't gonna use more than that for those. And I doubt I'm gonna need more than that. I'm still yet to test. It's not in there, is it? Where is it? Green alcohol. Yeah, this stuff. I'm still yet to like
double test this. Just because range damage versus like the rifle damage. I wish there was like a I could technically attack a zombie. Yeah, Mr. Zombie. Yeah, Mr. Zombie. But no doubt it'll just get one tapped anyway. $312. So this overpowered thing, 312. Hard to tell with what am I Alright, we need a friend. Hello. Looks like a P90 mag on the side. Alright, 185, Jesus. Alright. So 130, 319. So 120-ish. I don't expect it to be that. Let's try that one. So you should about 70. Okay, yeah. So it's not that one. So you're both going to die now. So you must do rifle, ranged. Yeah, you've got to be like, unless it's both of those, which would be hella cool because I actually use those with a Horde Knight anyway. Oh, crazy one. Okay, rifle damage. 190. Yeah, I don't think that's for that. It's just got to be pure rifles. It does say rifles and ranged. Hunting rifle, lever action, Winchester, sniper, coil sniper, and all 7 coil round recipes. Well, that is a coil round recipe. So now you're lying to me. Interesting. I mean, I got so many of them, I don't really use them. But that's something I've never tested. I wish there was like a dummy that you could hit and it would show you how much damage you do per shot. There was one in like Ark Survival, and I think there was one in DayZ. You know, those sort of games. And I've got everything else. I don't know why I'm doing that as if I'm doing a playthrough. But yeah. Recog. Okay, so let's pump out a couple of these. Keep me going. And what we can do is set time 49, 21, 45. We could take that off. We want that on, that on, that on, that definitely on. Using 670, which normal generators I think produce about 300. So that's the 3 generators I was using. Obviously there's more gas, and that's used a shit ton. But I've got a max output of 1500, which is a nice amount. And
then if I really wanted to, I could do lights, but that seems to be eating up the frames. So I might just turn those individually off that I can. To give myself a bit more of a frame so I'm not dying. Those lights don't seem to hurt as much with the frame rates. Right, a normal horde night, same as last time. Though technically the game stage might be higher because I've been alive a little bit longer, technically. So it might be a bit worse than it was last time, but we'll see. Hopefully the game still works. Should do. I don't know why it's spitting like that. I've never seen it do that before. Is it spitting or is it something else down there? I remember a long time ago there was a block that Fox used to love spitting at. I forget which one it was. There was a particular block that no matter what you did, they would just spit at you. I've never had something like attack. That's not good stuff. 3 of these. This is the thing that killed me as well. Yep. Throw on a couple of those. What is that I'm seeing? Oh, I'm not used to seeing that. It does feel a bit more laggy, like. penetration on this thing. Less stressed than I was last time. That's because I'm controlling this section rather than having to worry about that. But I can hear one of these is damaged, maybe even destroyed. I don't know. Because I'm not dividing my attention, I can control this more. Trying to spit at me from there. There's nothing, you can't see. There is no change in any of this other than the pipe. I know they don't like security, you can't use certain things with like a non-shooting thing, they can shoot straight through those. Which is why I don't use them for like base defense. Because I do like the block, but it doesn't actually work. Visual thing. Yeah, I do like this sniper. All the snipers are good because I like the penetration values. But I stack all my points in the penetration so I can get more than one headshot, and plus the armor pen helps, you know. Get 2 for 1 on my bullets. Take the headshots. And it's good for taking out demos and like cops. Get rid of them heads pretty quick. How is that getting me? Like, is it a vulture? Somehow something's getting through all of this. It goes hobbling along. second there, I was like, no, I just killed myself. Something must be loaded in. I mean, the blade traps do cause a bit of lag as well. Looks like two of them are not working. But that could also be from my own, like, they don't actually do any block damage. Yeah. This guy just says, screw the, like, electrics, they're not affected by that. Like all the big boys and demons are arriving now. Another woman. Make sure we move around her. I don't know what they're doing there. Never ever attacked that, I don't think, like that before. Maybe they're getting stuck on that double spiky bit. It used to be 2 wide, now it's... might not even actually be 1 wide because it's 2 blocks. Yeah, they might actually be getting stuck on that. That might be why it's a slower flow. That could be an interesting byproduct. I do not feel at ease this kind of wave, you should be kind of really aware of this. If you let them get too close, it can do damage. I haven't seen Lucifer dude yet. Clearly getting shot, so something's working. This would be where that door that I got rid of would come in handy. But in a way, that's actually a nice little bottleneck. That's proving to be pretty useful. Because they can get through, it's just, oh hello, the man is here. Just doing some jiffy jumps. Way! What in the fuck was that? That felt like a different... Was that maybe a... blade trap blowing up? That wasn't a normal explosion. Scared the living pants out of that one. I'll do a little top up here. To keep that replenished. These big boys are like serious bullets when giving me a new angle to like explode more. See it happening at some point. Couple of blade traps down. Hello, Daddy-o. What are you doing down there? Hello? Well, not everybody's going to be in the room. That's horde money over. It's a demo. I blocked that, mate.
sounds mostly quiet. That also allowed me an access way out of the base, didn't it? Oops. Alright. Well, before I go jumping down like crazy, I took out a couple of stacks. Pulse arrows. I gained arrows, which is just funny. We'll put that away. We'll put that away. Let's go check the damage. 2 blade traps. And they are 1 level through. They are doing something down here, so I'm gonna double check this. No. You've seen better days than me, haven't you? Right, what else have we got going on down here? How did you get in there? Always makes me curious how they get in there. Okay. I did only have that as concrete, so... Okay, that's apparently titanium. I've never seen them, like, do that before. But yeah, this was just concrete. So that might explain some of that. And they destroyed some of these. Because once again, it's probably just, you know, blocking their path, which could be good to know. Kind of cool in the fact that it does block their path. Don't really need to use those, but we like all of this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, good for repairs later. Yeah, get rid of that. Sure. Drink. That's what we love to see. Any other bits of damage? Obviously they yeah, they've damaged a random block as well, which all adds to them not getting in. Oh, they damaged a bit over here. Yeah, they damaged way more. That's because it was like 5,000, you know. That might have gave them a closer pathway to me. This would normally be titanium. So that just could have been for those reasons. Well, that's an interesting little... They were getting trapped down here quite a lot, so this would be a nice little place to kind of titanium them up and get them caught in here. Don't need that, don't need that. Lovely. And they always seem to get caught down here. Yeah. This would be all the things that I would keep to repair. And I'll put all those away. I would just scrap that. Scrap that, scrap that. Scrap, scrap. Pull out all the armored ones. Things I would keep. Purposes, things to scrap. Sergeant Pumpkin. Things to keep. Things to scrap. This is pretty clean.
there? Oh, that must have been the thing. Cool, look at that. That's a good job there. Now that, oh god. Alright, now that that's all taken care of. Put that there, get rid. Yeah, yeah. Yep, yeah. Unpack the titanium arrows, unpack them. Unpack all those. Unpack all this medical can go away. 3,000 bullets from that. Unpack all of those. Okay, so what else? These all look pretty good. Good bit of damage. Another one there. So yeah, this definitely needed to be a bit stronger. But I knew that going into it. Yeah, they really didn't like that because it used to be not there. So if that was all titanium as well, it would take them a lot longer and it keeping them funneled. Might be annoying to like constantly rebuild it, but if it's titanium, it's like 2-3 layers thick. It's not the end of the world. They didn't beat through any of these like they normally do, because I could probably see them beforehand, and it probably stopped them over here before they got to here. This is normally where they get stuck. Wow, okay. Yeah, they barely really got up here, did they? Okay. I thought I turned that off. I did not. Apparently this light switch got damaged. Don't know how. The random explosions. Yeah, that got damaged. Yeah, this was hardly even hurt. More of these. Get rid of those. lost. Just one layer. But we were close to losing a bit more. We lost what, 3 blocks there. And just there was 12 up here, so there was two more rows. Yeah, I lost 4 blade traps. Now you guys were shooting. Ooh. Not as much laser as it was coil. They got through a whole stack of that and not that. Interesting. Why would they shoot more carbine versus coil? They're pretty much aimed the same way. But overall, that was very, very successful. Now, I still don't know why I was getting shot. Like, I know they're not happy with the security gate, so they might have think they could see through that and then just kind of shoot me because they're a bit spazzy with these. Where with this, they don't usually even try to. When I'm here, they see me and they're like, yeah, go get him. And you can hide behind this, but you still sometimes get splashed, but not as much. But I was stood here a couple of times and took some good bit of damage. But that was very stress-free. And the demo took out, I think I only lost 1, and then the demo took out more. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blade traps. 11 blade traps for a horde night like that. I can get away with that stuff. It's only oil that's really the difficulty one, and I think I could make oil. Yeah, and I got plenty of oil shell, so like it's not really an issue. And this is just great because then I could take the snippers, because I use the sniper quite a lot. Look at that, straight away. Don't even have to mess around. Easy repair. Something like that. Unpack those. Unpack. Unpack. Scrap that, I'll keep those. I don't even use those, get rid of that. Those I'll keep to replenish. And I came out with even more pulse bolts. And then more pulse, and I was like, I'm getting more than I can physically use, which is madness. And put those in there. Coil carbine, unlock. Now, they did take a little bit of damage, but they survived. And it was probably mostly from the splash spit. So yeah, if this was all like
titanium like it should have been, I think I would have had way less destruction down there. But as you can see, the repair, it's a bit quicker with multiple. They still take a good while to like repair these individual blocks, but having multiple of them really does help. Just that balance between overkill. And this is why I have these here, to kind of like grab all the shit. And it's just a straight. I don't even use the coil sniper anymore, so I don't even know why that's technically there. And these I use. Another 5,000 bullets, just absolutely loaded. All my food's going up here. And then I have a spare battery for in here. I probably should have a little chest up here for batteries, because I always keep 6 fully loaded in there, and then the rest just sort of are in here, but it's mostly for the battery bank. And this stuff is just absolute trash. So let's just stick it in one of these and just scrap it all into nothing of any use. And it just keeps me locked and loaded with all the stuff. And it doesn't take long to kind of get that all loaded in. Check stability in case there's any glaring things I'm missing. If there was another one, see this one's yellow, so they clearly broke out another one of these. Did they do anything over here? They shouldn't have. And there's another one that I missed. So yeah, they've really had a hard time with that, which is a new byproduct. But overall, that was very smooth. Without much fret. Did I lose any of these? Sometimes I always lose one of these. No, they all survived. And there isn't one missing in here, is there? It's so much easier to see with this. Obviously, you don't use this when you're actually playing. So it's good for experiment. I am very happy with that scenario. I don't know how long this video has been. It feels like it's been a while. So I'm gonna leave it there. I will, off camera again, touch this stuff up. I will titanium all the outer edges so it's secure, and then I will come back again, and then it's gonna be insane difficulties, pop that Hell's Drink thing and see how this works. Titaniumed up. I'd like to know why those didn't fire equally. Maybe that one just fires slower than that one. Maybe that's why. But to be fair, they were around for quite a while, so it could be beneficial to get an additional turret. the laser ones are not too expensive on the ammo. Like I've got like plenty of that spare, and even though I have quite a bit of this, I could fire, you know, more of that in. I'm currently only using the normal ammo for these and not the AP, so maybe that could be contributing. But because I had those initially, and I get those for free essentially, but with the amount of like lead and AP stuff I'm getting, I could easily get a couple of stacks in there. That's not an issue. So yeah, I'll reload all of this, you know, put all these back in, get all titanium back up to where it should be, and then rerun this and have some fun and see, because that worked out better than I expected. That was a nice, interesting little element. I never had issues with flow, but that made there was a couple of dead spot times, which I didn't see that. Look at that. How did I miss that? I was wondering how they were like actually getting through. It's like, it can't be. How were they getting through without one of them? Which does tell me, if the fact that they got past that one and that one, they were still managing to get through. I'm pretty sure that one took some damage. I didn't fully test that, I don't think, but I'm pretty sure the big ones. No, I don't think the big ones got that far. The big horny devil dude just seems to ignore everything and just run through. All the demons seem to do that. Yeah, actually, I don't think they did. That might have worked. I'll have to pay attention to that next time and see. That's an interesting element. If that proves to be problematic, I could like forego the spiky bit and I could clean it up. But I quite like the way that kind of blends the two. But yeah, that could be a little experimental thing. But that was something different. That was fine. That was easier, and that seemed to do quite well. But the main bit that I fight in, you know, it took out those blade traps. They do their job, but I think I need probably more firepower with how many of those queen people are, or at least AP and lasers, because the laser one should be taking care of like their regeneration, which stops their crazy healing, and then the carbine should be the one. Does that not do empowered? All forms of demonic regeneration. Yeah. Okay. So that just is sort of like the mass health damage, and that's mostly regeneration plus obviously damage. So maybe I just need, you know, a couple more of those. I'd happily do another coil and maybe put some AP in there as well and have a triple set up. And if that's not enough, because I might be able to shove one extra in there. If the triple's not enough, then I could do a double up on the lasers. But yeah, I think a triple with AP as well. So I got the normals plus APs plus those. That's got to be enough. And if I titanium that up, I got those back in play. I got the triple set up there, and I come back on the highest difficulty, maxed out game stage. And if I survive, I'll put it to like day 7,000 as well. I'll put it to try to max the shit out of it and see how that goes. That'll be on the next one. That'll be quite fun. I am impressed with that. So that will do with it for that. Don't know how long this was. Catch you next time.